You ever sit in a waiting room and watch the clock and feel like time is literally moving backward? You've got nowhere to go, nothing to do, and suddenly 5 minutes feels like an hour. Your brain is screaming for stimulation. It's agony, complete agony. Now imagine you're an ancient human. No phones, no books, no Netflix, no literally anything. Just you, a cave, and the endless repetition of survival. Did they feel what you felt in that waiting room? Did ancient humans ever get bored? And more importantly, what did they actually do about it? Because here's the thing that nobody talks about. Our brains haven't changed much in the last 100,000 years. The hardware is basically identical, which means if you could somehow transport a modern human back to 30,000 years ago, you'd be bringing a brain that's fundamentally wired for novelty, for stimulation, for entertainment. So, what happens when you give that brain literally none of those things? Let's start with the evidence that boredom even existed back then. And yes, there is evidence, not written records, obviously. Ancient humans didn't leave us complaint diaries, but archaeologists have found something fascinating: objects that have absolutely no survival purpose whatsoever. In caves across Europe, we find hand stencils, thousands of them, made by blowing pigment around a hand pressed against stone. Was this necessary for survival? No. Could you eat it? No. Would it protect you from predators? Absolutely not. But someone did it anyway. Someone made art when they could have been doing literally anything else, and they did it repeatedly, obsessively, across thousands of years. Then there are the Venus figurines, these tiny carved statues of women found scattered across Europe and Asia, dating back up to 40,000 years. These things are small enough to fit in a pocket. They're not practical, they're not weapons, they're not tools, they're decoration, they're art. And the fact that ancient peoples invested time carving these suggests they had time to invest, time they weren't spending on survival. But here's where it gets really interesting. Archaeological sites show us something remarkable about ancient human settlements. The spacing suggests that people weren't living on top of each other. They had room to move around, they had space, and more than that, hunter-gatherer societies actually didn't work that hard. Modern anthropologists who've studied surviving hunter-gatherer groups report that hunting and gathering usually takes about 15 to 20 hours a week. That's less than a full-time job. So what were they doing with the rest of their time? They weren't on their phones, they weren't binge-watching shows, but they were doing something. And that something matters because it tells us that boredom, genuine existential boredom, was absolutely something ancient humans had to deal with. Let me paint a picture of what daily life probably looked like. The sun comes up, someone goes hunting, someone else gathers food. By midday, maybe the essentials are handled. Food is secured, the fire is maintained. Now what? You've got the entire afternoon and evening stretching out in front of you. No distractions, no escape, just you and your own mind. And that's where things get interesting, because humans, ancient or modern, don't actually handle endless free time very well. We fill it with anything we can find. Archaeologists have found evidence of games, dice-like objects made from bone and stone. Playing pieces, games existed, and not just as practical teaching tools. Some of these games served no purpose except entertainment. People sat around and played games because they were bored, and games were better than staring at a wall. They told stories. We know this from anthropological evidence and from the fact that oral traditions existed in every single ancient human culture ever documented. Stories are the ultimate boredom cure. A good story can make hours disappear, and ancient humans didn't have access to Harry Potter or Breaking Bad, so they created their own narratives. They told them around fires, they embellished them, they probably argued about the details, same as we do with movies and shows today, just with a campfire instead of a screen. They made music. We've found bone flutes dating back 40,000 years, not practical survival tools, musical instruments. Someone decided that making sounds in specific patterns was worth their time. Why? Entertainment, boredom relief, the fundamental human need for something to do. And here's something really important. They decorated themselves. Jewelry made from shells, bones, teeth. Some of these items traveled hundreds of miles. People didn't just make them, they traded them, they valued them, they wore them specifically because of how they looked. That's not survival instinct. That's aesthetic appreciation. That's boredom management. But here's what separates ancient humans from us in a really crucial way. They couldn't escape their boredom. They couldn't pull out a device. They couldn't scroll. They couldn't numb themselves. So, what happened in those moments when the stories were done and the games were finished and the sun was going down? They sat with it. They experienced actual, unfiltered, undistracted boredom. And neuroscience actually suggests that might have been good for them. Modern research shows that boredom, the genuine kind where your brain has nothing to do, actually triggers creativity. It forces your mind to wander. It creates space for imagination. Bored brains generate ideas. Bored brains solve problems. Bored brains innovate. Maybe that's why ancient humans invented so much despite having no external pressure to do so. No boss demanding quarterly results. No social media demanding constant content. Just boredom. Pure, relentless boredom pushing them to create. So, did ancient humans get bored? Yes, absolutely yes. But they didn't have the luxury of knowing that boredom was temporary, that relief was just a tap away. They had to sit in it, they had to feel it, and in a strange way, that might have made them more human, not less. The question isn't whether they got bored. The question is whether we've actually solved boredom or just learned to run from it.